just so that everybody knows that this is going to be the last Lean Bites of 2021. We've got the holiday season coming up, and we usually do them every 2 weeks, but we figured it'd be best just to kick things back off in January. And we're going to start moving it to the first Tuesday and third Tuesday of the month. So the schedule will change a little bit, but one of the reasons we wanted to do that was to make it so that we'll have internal people on the first Tuesday of the month and external people on the first Tuesday. And then the third Tuesday, we'll have it just internal. So if people don't feel comfortable sharing outside information with external resources, we can, kind of confine that to the third Tuesday of the month. Sound good to everybody?
Sounds good to me, John.
I mean, I see Daniel, so I just assumed he's good. He gave me the thumbs up. Awesome. So with that said, I'll kick it over to Alex. He's going to be presenting on, was it using like mockups and what is it?
Yep, prototyping tools.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, cool. Get zoom out of the way here. Cool. All right, so title of this is Do Less with Prototyping. So our goal for today is to review how prototyping can help your team save time, money, and sanity by using prototyping tools and design your front end and page features. So we want to learn the capabilities of prototyping tools, learn some of the best practices to help you move quickly when designing and prototyping, and then learn ways to use prototyping with your team at your client. Now, some of you might ask, what is prototyping by this definition? Well, prototyping is using a design tool to create an interactive experience rather than just static images. It's gotten really easy with design tools nowadays to actually create full experiences. So this will allow stakeholders to get a real feel of what that website or that mobile app or whatever you're designing is going to feel like without just having to use their imagination with those interactions. And it doesn't require any code, and they can quickly be modified. So how can I do this? Well, there's a ton of tools: Figma, Adobe XD, InVision, Axure, Sketch, Webflow, and that's just a couple of them. There are plenty more out there. Whichever one you use, there's going to be pros and cons. Figma tends to be my favorite. I use Sketch for a long time too. Really, you can't go wrong with many of these. But that goes along with, I don't know how to use these tools. How will it help me speed up? They're really easy tools to learn. A lot of them are very much click and drag, pick a color, do some alignment, and you're good. From that, they have pretty simple interfaces. The alignment tools are really easy to use. A lot of them have very good intuitive tooling that help you do what you want without having to think too hard about it. There's a lot of online tutorials available, especially within Figma and Sketch and Adobe XD. There's just so much information on how to get started with these. The other really nice thing is there's vast communities along with these tools. There are a lot of UI kits and starter templates available. So if you're doing material design, there are people that already have entire material design kits that you can just download and use, modify the theming of it, and you're able to just go and start placing down entire buttons, panels, cards, everything that you want with that available to you right away. Make sure you check the licensing before using those. Many of them are Creative Commons attribution, so you should be able to just use it and make sure you attribute any presentation that you're doing with it to that person, as we will actually do at the end here. Also, no CSS, so your days of trying to figure out how to align everything are done. And then reusable color palettes and reusable components, kind of like I mentioned with having your starter kits. Very, very useful things for trying to get moving quickly without having a whole lot of startup time. It still seems like a lot of work for no code, designing whole pages, all of that. There are trade-offs to this, right? It can have a high startup cost, especially if you're not working with an existing component library or existing page designs. But the pages and components that you do create become reusable later, and you can actually share those with other designers in your team or within your organization. So if you want to be able to start creating a more collaborative environment around that, these tools are really built to help accelerate that and then help other teams build off of what you're using. There's no code to it, which is a good plus and a minus. But your adjustments that you want to make are much faster than if you were writing code. If I had to write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to do everything that I want with these tools, it would take me sometimes 5 to 6 times longer than if I was just doing this inside of a prototyping tool. And you also will have an agreed upon specification to code your front end without the guesswork. What these fast iterations let you do is go back and forth with your stakeholders and make the changes that they want to see without having to necessarily go get late into your process, make changes, and keep making changes at the very end. It allows you to have that standard and just do your development all the way through. So the earlier the feedback, the less churn there's going to be in development. Okay, so I'm sold. How do I get started with this? So first thing I would recommend doing if you're at a client site is go talk and see if there's a UX or design team. See what tools they're using and find out if they have any component branding libraries for those tools that you can use as like a base starter. A lot of major companies have a base framework for design tools that you can just work off of. Usually they're more than happy to share that with you as long as you are working on one of their internal teams. Get buy-in from your stakeholders, and this is going to be a tough thing that you have to do. The way I typically phrase it is, hey, I have an idea that can save us development time, which will save you money. Can we try it out? If we don't like it, we get rid of it. But if we like it, and most of the time they've liked it when I've done this, we keep going and it starts speeding up that development process. So show them how quick the iteration can happen on the designs. Get your initial design set up and go set up a meeting with them. If you're comfortable enough to walk through the designs that you're doing and make the adjustments on the fly, they can see how fast that feedback gets put in versus what it is when you're doing it with development time. And okay, can you change this? Okay, I'll come back in 10 minutes and let you know, versus just happening on the fly in a meeting right there. Pay attention to the small details in the design phase. The small details like mini animations or, proper rounding of your corners and proper color palette selection can make a big difference in the actual polish factor of what your clients will see. So if you can get that bit of polish and really show them what a good final design will look like, it's going to help make the final end product of what you're developing a lot better. And then as you're going through these mock-ups, make sure that you're looking at your details, like look at the details of the mock-up and make sure it's really polished. If you don't deliver that final polished product, there's still going to be that churn and it's not going to save you that time. So you really have to pay attention to what you're doing with your prototyping tools. So I'm going to go through a real quick example of what does this actually look like. I've talked about it, but now let's see what happens with that. So we're working off of a basis here. This is actually a tutorial that's available from one of the Figma users in the community, showing a little mobile app that has a pull down to refresh. So if we start here, comes in with an animated splash screen for you. And as you look at this, you can click through and it'll show you what you need to do to progress through your prototype. So it kind of helps guide your users through what you want them to do. So I click on the email address, brings up my keyboard. I click on the keyboard and it fills out the form. And then I can click sign in. So I can see all of this. What I need to do now is pull down to refresh, and I'll do that refresh and pop in for us. Now, okay, what's next? Well, a delete button here. So I have that interaction. I can go through and delete, and that's it. It's pretty smooth, has nice little animations, gives you kind of that idea of like a polished product and how you would actually be using this application. If you end up not being able to see it, you can use your arrow keys to go back and forth through each of the stages. So if I want to get back to seeing that animation go, I'm just using my arrow keys. I can go again. Hey, it loaded in. Cool. And then I can go back, run my delete again. And I can go ahead and make any small changes here. So say I want to make this logo bigger on the splash page. I could do that. Go here and refresh. And that comes right into the prototype right away. It's super quick to be able to make those changes. It applies right into your prototypes. And then the actual prototyping part of it is pretty simple. All you're doing here is defining a starting point and an ending point, and how do we get to those things? Figma actually has a lot of smart prototyping built into it. So I can say here, I want to click on this. So I say, we're going to start here, the interaction, we're going to have a delay, and then we're going to transition into this page right here. And you can go through each of those pages to find your interactions. So here, when I click the email address, I'm going to move in this keyboard. And it's really simple to make those adjustments. So say I want to, I don't know, pop it in instantly. So when I go back to here, rather than having a pop in with delay, I just have an instant pop in. So all those changes are really, really simple to make. You can get that extra bit of polish and really work through everything that you want with your end users, your stakeholders, anyone that you're really presenting this to. So that's really all I've got for you. I hope you can kind of see the power of these prototyping tools, maybe not see exactly how to use them yet, but if you're interested in using those, please talk to me. I'm happy to explain and show you how I go through one of those design processes. So do we have any questions?
One question Kylie had is, what is the version control story behind some of those tools?
Yeah, so for this, what I'll usually do for versioning, there is branching available in some of these. I believe Figma has branching, but usually what I do is as I'm trying to get to an initial design, I will duplicate a page or I will duplicate out one of these. So if I want to work on iterations to design, all I do is copy it over and I have a new one right here, and then I can go make any modifications I want. So if I want to take that splash screen, you know, this is laid out all pretty, but I take that splash screen, I want to go here. I can just move that back down and then I can go center it and then bring it back down here. And there's a second copy of it. That's all it takes me.
Great, we have 2 more minutes if there's any additional questions.
So what's the sharing story like if you're collaborating maybe with a couple other devs on a team and you're kind of doing that hybrid design / coding? How do you share your output?
Yeah, so actually one of the nice things on these is you do have inspectability on it. So you can get CSS out from this. So if you have, you know, some fancy gradient you want to use and make sure that that's perfect, you can get that CSS, send it out to them. As far as putting code in, it really depends on the tool. Some of them can accept code. Some of them are more built for that, while some of them only output code. But as far as that process, what I typically like to do is really get the design nailed down first. And then if we have existing designs in the system, if you have those components kind of built up, bring those into your design tool and then build over what you have existing. The collaboration is really going to depend also on like your team size and your team processes. So I can't say there's really a one size fits all to that. I definitely prefer the design first though.
Yeah, because I saw like there's a share link at the top right. And I think what we've run into when they've used these tools is to use the share link, it wants you to create an account. So then
no, you don't need that. No, Figma does not require that. So if I want to share this prototype, I can limit it to only people invited. Anyone can view it. You don't need to actually have a Figma account.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we're at time now, so I'll kind of wrap things up for everybody. Thanks again for everyone who was able to attend, and look forward to seeing you guys in January and the first Tuesday of the month. And here's some link to some Alex's information if you need it.
No, this is actually accreditation for this.
Oh yeah, for Figma. Yeah, nice.
All right, cool.
Awesome. Thanks again, everybody.